Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. First of all, I'd like to thank all those people who like my previous videos and subscribe to my channel. If you have not subscribed as of yet, you can just go down and click the subscribe button and press the bell icon to get notified about my latest videos. So as most of you have guessed from the title, for today's video I'm going to talk about this particular filmmaker who had such a big impact on Hollywood that he literally changed Hollywood. The filmmaker who I'm talking about is Stanley Kubrick. And those of you who know Stanley Kubrick, you will know that he was one of the most experimental filmmakers to have ever lived. So, you see, during the late 1950s and early 60s, Hollywood was going through a transition. Earlier great filmmakers like Charles Chaplin, Alfred Hitchcock, or Orson Welles had either grown old or retired. And at that time, the most popular movies were mostly these commercial escapist films like The Ten Commandments starring Charlton Heston, Ben-Hur, The Planet of the Apes, The Guns of Navarone. And at that time, Stanley Kubrick came and he brought this realism and dark humor to Hollywood cinema, which was a lot inspired from European and Asian cinema. And he, as I said before, he literally changed Hollywood. He influenced several future filmmakers, not just in Hollywood, but throughout the world. And he also made some really controversial films, including his last film, Eyes Wide Shut, Lolita, and possibly not just his most controversial film, but possibly the most controversial film ever made, A Clockwork Orange, which is famous, or rather I should say infamous, for its extreme violence, including a very famous eye gouging scene. But still, I think it's a pretty good film. And so now I have made a list of 3 films which I think that if you are new to Stanley Kubrick, these 3 films you should watch, to start getting into the world of Stanley Kubrick. So, number 1 on my list is 2001: A Space Odyssey. Now, this is a science fiction film, and this was not the first science fiction film ever made. There were several science fiction films made before this, including movies like The Planet of Apes and everything. But Stanley Kubrick reinvented the genre. This film is a science fiction art house film, kind of like the Andrei Tarkovsky movies, like Solaris and all. And this shows, this film actually tells us about how cruel the human nature is. It is a commentary on how, as time has passed, or how human beings have evolved, they have also become more cruel throughout this transition. There are also some brilliant scenes, including a scene which shows an ape, before when human beings were ape, this ape who discovers a bone and slowly transforms into a human being. And this is just brilliant. I think 2001: A Space Odyssey is one of the best science fiction films of all time, if not the best. Number 2 on my list is The Shining. Possibly the most famous Stanley Kubrick film. The Shining is a horror film and it stars Jack Nicholson in one of his best performances of his career. And while The Shining is a pretty typical Stephen King novel, they go to this hotel, the hotel is haunted, and then the lead character played by Jack Nicholson, he also becomes crazy, he becomes a psychopath, he is sort of controlled by the ghosts and everything. But it's done in a very different kind of way. And Stephen King actually hated this film because it was very different from his novel. But Stanley Kubrick gave a totally different, a totally different angle, a new angle to the story, possibly making it even better than the original novel. Jack Nicholson, as usual, I don't think I have to say any more about him. He's one of the best actors of all time, and he gives one of his all-time greatest performances in this film. Plus, one of the best things I like about Shining is that there are not, some very scary CGI effects or something in this film. It's just Jack Nicholson. But still, it's so scary. It's more scarier than some of the new Hollywood horror films. And I think this is a must-watch for any movie lover. And number 3, finally on my list, is my personal favorite Stanley Kubrick film. and that is Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Loving the Bomb. As you have already guessed from the title of the film, it's a pretty funny political satire, and I think why I consider this to be Stanley Kubrick's best film is that this is one of those films which everyone will like. You know, it's like not like that only if you are a person who really appreciates cinema and art that you like Doctor Strangelove. It's a universally acclaimed film. And also, Doctor Strangelove stars Peter Sellers in the lead role. Not just one of the greatest comedians of all time, but one of the greatest actors of all time. And Stanley Kubrick totally changed Peter Sellers' image after this film. Before this film, Peter Sellers was known as this brilliant comedian who could do a lot of accents, like he played a French detective in The Pink Panther and an Indian doctor in The Party. But in this film, he had to play 3 characters. It was a triple role. And although it was a comic character, it was not like one of those typical slapstick characters which he had earlier played. This was a much more serious, much more restrained performance. And he was just marvelous in the film. It's possibly the best performance of his career. And I think Doctor Strangelove is a film which I think is one of the greatest dark comedies ever made. And everybody should watch this. Anyways guys, that was the video. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please like, share and subscribe. You can also write down your thoughts in the comment section below. So thank you, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.